Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to open up and disassemble this HP, this is a HP laptop model 17-CN0053CL. It's right there. Okay, this is what the other side looks like. If you need that for a thumbnail, maybe. Okay, anyways, let's go ahead and take this thing apart. So there's rubber feet we're going to have to lift up. So I just use my fingernail. You can use plastic pry tools, whatever works for you. But just get under there and we're going to have to peel this up. Make sure that you're peeling up the adhesive as well. Because if you look here, if you don't peel up the adhesive, then the screw is trapped under there. So we do need to make sure to peel up the adhesive as well. Okay, so peel that up just like that. Make sure that this sticks back down. And peel that out. This piece always kind of gets messed up on itself, so just make sure that you can kind of flatten it out a bit. All right, and then we'll set that aside. Same thing with the other one. We're going to go ahead and peel that up, and there we go. Technically on the bottom one, or where the computer opens, you only have to peel up the side so you can get to the screws here. But yeah, we just peeled the whole thing off. Anyways, we're going to use a PH1 or JS1 screwdriver to remove all the screws from the bottom. You want to keep the screws in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. The way I do that is I put them flat side down like that on my desk in the pattern I remove them. So we got 4 along the back here. Then we got 1 on each side here, the silver ones. We got another 1 on each side here. And then we got 2 more here, okay? Excuse me. So 10 screws in total. Let's go ahead and remove them all. We're going to be upgrading this hard drive or the computer to an SSD. It's having some issues. One issue I was having was, for some reason, it wasn't letting me see the internal hard drive to clone it. I wonder if it will let me see it this way after I install it, because otherwise I have to do it all outside the computer and then install it. But for some reason, my cloning software wasn't able to see the internal hard drive while it's still inside. So that's why we're taking it apart first. Okay. So anyways, now that we got all the screws out, these 2 are also silver. The screws seem to be about the same size, but definitely silver ones here. And then the black ones are all underneath the rubber pieces. Okay, now that we got all the screws out, the way you get the bottom cover open, or at least how I do it, you see this little gap here between the bottom cover and the palm rest. I'll get my fingernails in that gap and I'll push with my thumb on the back, just like this. And you can see how it pops out, just like that. And we're just gonna go all the way around. Okay, go around the side edges here, and then work your way around the side edges up here. Just like that. Okay, and then in most cases, once you get the side out, you can kind of lift and wiggle, and there you go. All right, so there's the bottom cover removed, and it's not really very dusty or anything in here. Actually, there's a little bit of dust, so I'll clean it out, but it's not too bad. So usually I'll hold this like that, and then I'll just brush it, and then after I do that and loosen up all the dust, I have an powerful electric air blower that I'll use to clean that out. All right, so let me do that real quick, and I'll be back. All right, I'm back. So let's go ahead and take a closer look. I'm not going to be pulling all the components out because the only thing we need to do is upgrade the hard drive to an SSD, but I'll show you what the internal components are. So this does support an M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD, it looks like. Okay, so there's a slot here, and they also have a screw. So if you have an M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD you want to add, you can do that there. Okay, 2 slots for RAM. So let's go ahead and take one stick out and take a look. Pull 2 tabs, it pops up. Normally it will just go up like this, and then you pull that out. And let's take a look. So this is an 8 gig PC4 3200 AA. Come on, wake up, focus. I don't know why it's not focusing up here, but let's see. Wake up, wake up, wake up. I don't know, it doesn't, for some reason this camera doesn't want to focus here. Okay, but anyways, it's a PC4 3200 AA stick of RAM. So yeah, you can put any PC4 3200 AA stick of RAM. If you want, you can put 2 16 gig sticks for 32 gigs. I don't think they have 32 gig sticks of RAM, but you can, if you can find that, go ahead, put 2 32 gig sticks and you can have 64. Battery model number is here, HW03XL. Pretty easy to remove, just undo all the screws that are holding it into place. Okay. one screw here, here, and then one screw here and here. So 4. After you remove those, you go from here and you can just pull this straight up. It will go up, and these connections here are just like metal tabs. The battery just slots onto it like that. Okay. You have the keyboard connector here with the flip latch. All right, I'm not going to flip that. Keyboard backlight connector here. Most likely there's a touchpad trackpad connector. You got the hard drive connector here, which you can upgrade to an SSD, which is what we're going to be doing. You have this cable here, which connects the SD card slot and the USB port, as well as I believe these are the activity lights, like hard drive, activity, and power. You got the DC jack charge port connector here. You do have to undo the screws and then lift the hinge up to get this out. This just goes straight up. There's a cable that runs all the way along, all the way to here. Kind of a weird design that they run the power connection all the way over there. But yeah, all right. I believe some models have 2 fans here, so they built this design like that. But some models that have a GPU here, you see how it has these empty little things with those little silver balls. That's where the GPU would go. It would use a single heatsink and then 2 fans to cool them both down. All right, you got the fan connector here. Obviously the DC jack connector there. Wireless card here. It only has 1 antenna, so this isn't dual band wireless, and but there's one screw. It pops up slightly and you pull it out, just like the RAM, and also like the M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD if you were to install one. If you're gonna mess with this cable, this says webcam, but most likely this is also for the screen, the LCD LVDS connector. If you're gonna mess with this, it's very important that you disconnect the battery, take the battery out, open the laptop, press and hold the power button for at least 15 seconds, and then you can go ahead and mess with this. The flip latch, it looks like it's on this side, but I don't wanna flip it since we didn't do the power drain. You got the speaker connected here, and then there's another cable that runs along underneath to the speaker over here. Okay. And I believe that's pretty much it. The antenna does seem to go into the screen. And yeah, everything else is part of the motherboard. CPU is soldered to the motherboard. You can't replace that. If you do take out this heatsink, you do need to clean off the old thermal paste and redo it, so keep that in mind. All right, anyways, we're going to go ahead and put an SSD in here. I'm curious if it will let me, so you can see how I flip this latch up. Oh, there's another latch here that says FP, so on some models there's a fingerprint reader, but this one doesn't have that. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and pull this cable out. And now that we got that cable out, we should be able to lift the hard drive. Let's see how it's holding in here. Okay, the easiest is probably from this side. Just slowly, carefully lift it like that. You can see how it just holds in with these little rubber things that stick out, and there's not any screws holding this, so you just kind of pull this away and it comes out just like that. Be careful because you don't want to damage this. It seems like this is held on with adhesive, so carefully just lift and pull this. Okay, and now that we got that, we're going to disconnect this cable. The way I do this is, you can see how there's not really much room to grip this. So what I do is, you can see how when I pulled that a little, you can now see the exposed gap here. So I get my fingernail in there. Obviously you can use a little pry tool, whatever. I just use my fingernail to get in there and to pull that connector, all right? And the reason I pull it from there, okay, is because if you look at this design, this is actually just a lid. And if you pull on this, there's a lot of times you'll end up pulling this lid off. All right, so there's the 2.5-inch SATA hard drive. It's a 1 terabyte. We're gonna replace this with an SSD. All right, I'm back. So I'm gonna see if somehow the SSD is readable, but the hard drive isn't from internal, because it's really strange that it's not reading. I've never seen that happen before for regular SATA hard drives. I've seen it happen for M.2 PCIe NVMe SSDs that my cloning software can't see it, but I've never seen it do that for these SATA hard drives. So we're just going to put the hard drive back in, okay, or not the hard drive, but the SATA SSD. Okay, we're going to latch that back down, and let's go ahead and see if we can power it up. I'm gonna put 2 of the screws here. I'm gonna loosely fit them because we're not putting the bottom cover on, but we're gonna put these screws loosely just so that when we open the computer, it has a little bit more support. Okay, don't tighten it too strong or too tight, because these screws are, like, since the bottom cover's not there to keep the gap, if you push it too far, it's gonna screw through the cover. So you don't want to do that. All right, we're going to carefully open up the laptop. Okay, and then we're going to power it on, and I'm going to connect the hard drive externally now. We're going to press F9 on boot to the external. All right, and oops, I need to plug in this first. So this is my software that lets me clone the hard drive. So I'm going to plug this in real quick. We need to restart one time and then boot again. And for some reason it wasn't seeing the hard drive before, so let's see if it works this way. If it lets me see the SSD, we should be okay. If you're trying to do this and you can't boot your drive, it's because you have secure boot on. You have to go into the BIOS by pressing F10 and disable secure boot, okay? Secure boot prevents you from booting from non-Windows USBs. Anyways, I'm gonna run my cloning software and let's see here. So yeah, I can't see the internal SSD here. That is so weird. I've never seen that happen before. So it looks like I'm gonna have to actually clone the hard drive outside of the computer. So I'm gonna have to plug in two. The problem is this only has one USB or two USB ports, but I need one for this. So what I'm gonna have to do, we're gonna shut this down, and then we're gonna have to pull the hard drive out and use an adapter, and then I'm gonna have to have this laptop plugged in while it does the cloning. So we're gonna close this up. I'm gonna actually put this thing back together just so it's a bit more safe while it's doing the cloning process. So let's go ahead and take these screws back out. Okay, well, at least put in the hinge screws when we go to do the cloning process. So we'll flip this latch and pull this drive back out. Okay, this is a terrible design. So let's get this out. Get this out. Okay, so there we go. So now we got the SSD out. We're gonna go ahead and put the bottom cover back on. Again, I'm only going to snap in the back portion because that's all we're going to need for the cloning process that we're going to do, okay? Because we're going to have to take this apart again later. So I'm just going to go ahead and put back the rear back screws. Is this not snapped all the way? Huh. I feel like it's not lined up properly. Oh yeah, this isn't snapped on all the way. Okay, there we go. We'll get the screw in. Okay, and then we'll get this screw in, and then we'll have to start the cloning process. All right, so I have this little USB-C adapter thing, so hopefully this will let me run the cloning software off it. So we'll put this in. Okay, and we'll power this up. F9. Okay, and we have this. I have to plug in both drives at the same time, but just to make sure, we should be okay. Alright, so I'll wait for my software to start up. And then plug this in. I hear the hard drive spinning. Okay, I see the Western Digital. So I'm going to clone this, and then we'll reinstall the hard drive, and then we'll put this thing back together, but it's pretty straightforward. Alright, I'll see you guys then. Alright, the cloning process finished, so let's go ahead and reassemble this thing. So, first thing we're going to do, obviously, is put the hard drive, or sorry, the SSD into the caddy. So just go ahead and get that back on. Okay, just like this, and like this. The little rubber things just go into there. Okay, and then we're gonna go ahead and open this up and pop everything back out. Okay, oops, we do need to go from the bottom here. Let's get these two screws back out. Right. go. Then we'll just pop this back apart. Okay, pop that back up. Pop this back out. Wiggle that out. Pop this back out. There we go. We'll set that aside. Let's go ahead now and get the SSD installed. Very simple. Make sure that latch is up. We'll drop this back into place here. We'll get this using the blue tab back into place. Let me actually rotate this so it's easier for me to work on. Okay, oops. Come on, come back out. Get that back in. There we go. Once that's in, flip that latch back down. We're going to go ahead and get the bottom cover back on, and we should be good to go. Again, hopefully this video helped you guys out. If it did, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their device as well. And if it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Again, if you can't help out that way, it would help a lot if you could watch a few of my other videos and then like and comment on those as well, because that's what the algorithm likes to see. I also have another channel called It's Been Reviewed and More. If you could subscribe to that one as well. Same profile picture, but zoomed in. That will really help me out. I need to get to that one to 1,000 subscribers, and it's taking quite a while. So, yeah. Anyways, let's go ahead and get all these screws back in, powered up, and we should be good to go. All right, last few screws. The way I put these rubber pieces back is I always try and put it back the same way I took it out. Sorry, I mean the right side up, the same way I had it originally. This piece, since it's kind of not lined up right, I'm going to peel this out and see if I can stretch this properly to get it to line up better. But there we go. Stick that all down. Okay, so usually what I do is I'll start with one edge here. Also, I look at the bottom to see the imprint that was left behind, and then we'll go to the other side, get that edge, and then we'll work our way to the center. And that way, any stretching that happened will be pushed back to the center, which will eventually just push itself back out. Okay, let's get the last few screws in, and then we will power it up, make sure it's working well. Okay. Last few screws. One. Okay, there we go. And we'll get the last one in. So again, I like to check and make sure I can see where the little screw holes line up. And then we'll just put it back that same way, like that. Get this side down first, then go over to here, line that up as far as possible, and then work our way towards the center. Make sure that the rubber piece does all go into the groove. And there we go, all in place. Let's flip it over, power it on, and see what we got. It's so dusty. All right. So we should now be getting it. And there's the HP logo, and it's booting up. So that's pretty much it. Upgraded to an SSD. Again, you can upgrade to an M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD, which should be faster. I originally quoted the customer thinking because it had a spinning drive that I'd replace the spinning drive. That's why we got a 2.5-inch SATA drive. But other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to go ahead and restart the computer one time. It's always a good idea when doing a big hardware change to just do a restart instead of a shutdown. So we'll restart one time just to make sure, and that's pretty much it. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. All right, let's drop this. Bye.